Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this week's edition of the Co-working Values Podcast, the world's favourite co-working podcast. And back after a long absence is my good friend Zeljko. How are you, sir?
I'm very good. Thank you, Bernie. I do think that it's one of 5 co-working podcasts in the world.
Yeah, but there are. Jeez, I feel like Henry Ford when he found out about Mercedes-Benz.
I'm not really sure how many there are, or how many they have been, or people try to do. But we're definitely the most persistent.
I'd say that, and I've craved this persistency and consistency, which are nearly both the same things in some languages. Over my content generating life. So should we like skip to the ad?
Yeah, of course. Let's hear from our wonderful sponsor, Cobot. This episode is brought to you by Cobot, a leading management software for co-working spaces, office hubs, and flexible workspaces around the world. One of the best things about Cobot is that it is produced by people who manage a co-working space and know the ins and outs of the main problems and issues bugging co-working managers. So if you want more time for your coworkers and community, check out Cobot at cobot.me and take your co-working management to the next level. And that was me talking about Cobot. So it's wonderful how I manage to sound every week completely the same, even when I'm not here. So Bernie, we haven't talked for a while, and this episode we don't have a guest. So how have you been?
I've been, as we said when we first got on the call, I've been hectic but good.
I noticed your email yesterday. You do send out that newsletter, Bernie J. Mitchell, and where everybody that is subscribed is so always itching for the next one. And I noticed that you have had so much maybe too many things going on in the past couple of weeks.
I've definitely had too many things going on.
Why is that?
Well, funny you should ask. We're doing right now, as we're recording, and we're going to publish this tomorrow. We're in the middle of Freelancers Week, which has been a crazy, exciting, and heart-stopping scramble of attempting to get people to. Normally, it's always hard work, but normally getting people to run events during Freelancers Week, and this is the 5th year we've done it, is pretty easy because it's get a room and put some people in it and do something. And as we've gone through the communication and promotion and sorting things out, every week the rules change. So it has, even this morning there was we're installing a NOOK with a Lifi connection in a co-working space in London, and there are a whole load of things that changed due to regulations and stuff like that. So
I'm going to stop you there for all the listeners out there. What is a NOOK and what is Lifi?
So NOOK it's like a little. I'm not sure David would like this, the founder, but it's like a little windy house on wheels that we've sat in at. You'll see them at Co-work in Europe and other conferences.
I saw them. I sat in one, and I do believe they're awesome and great, and so fun to use and see. But I'm not sure about the listeners. That's why I'm letting you just promote David for this, and maybe they will consider being a sponsor. Wink, wink, David.
It's a little windy house where 2 people can sit in. And it's sound. I wouldn't say it's soundproof, but it's sound conditioned. So you get in, and the lining absorbs all the sound. So particularly where a lot of people listening would have used them is at the co-working conferences, and you step out a busy hallway into a NOOK, and you can have a quiet conversation. You record a podcast in there at a conference. It's beautiful, and there's also lighting can be adjusted in there. And then what we've done is, I don't want to say, not me, obviously, it's the engineers. Lifi is an internet connection that comes via light. So in the pod, you can have your very own internet connection, which is super secure and very, very, robust. So if we were recording a podcast or streaming video, the upload and the download speed is really, really consistent. So that's what we're putting together.
Let me ask you this. So it's coming through the light. So does your computer need to have some sort of a light panel attached to it?
It has to have a little dongle that you plug in, and that's how it receives the internet connection.
I
don't want to misrepresent them, but that's kind of it. It's like a supernatural intervention. So by doing that, the only way you can interrupt the internet connection
is by shutting off the lights.
By shutting off the lights.
Yeah.
But people can't, because the connection is between the light and your machine. It's not like people can hack into it or anything like that. So it's very secure.
So,
I'm reluctant
they can just
to use
put the book
100%. Yep.
Yeah. Okay. So it's definitely secure. And the good people at Philips invented it, right? If I'm not mistaken.
That's right.
Yeah.
They're called Signifi.
So much innovation going on nowadays. Okay, cool. So we got NOOK, we got Lifi, and we got new preventive measures in London. So how's that been going?
Very
preventive.
Very preventive. There was, I don't know if you saw our good friend Hector, like as soon as it was announced, he put out a Syncaroo post, which we can put in the show notes about what the new measures mean for London. And we were on a call with the Mayor of London has a workspace organisation. Mm-hmm. So we had, there was 100 co-working operators and community managers turned up for a call with the Mayor's Office and Capital Enterprise to talk about, how we're going to deal with this going forward. And the workspace accreditation scheme that's just been launched in London. So 10 spaces are now recognised by the Mayor's Office as to the standard of being a co-working space. They're recognised as a co-working space. So in a kind of like, hey, you're a co-working space. Yes, that's me.
That's totally like I don't want to put a dark cloud over it, but I'm getting a feeling from what you just now said that the politics have gotten involved in co-working, and now we have something that the system should recognize as a co-working space, opposed to every co-working space so far being a co-working space.
It is let out with the best intention, and they've been
as they always do. Okay, cool. So I'm not. As I said, I don't want to be too dark about it. But as far as where I come from, in Serbia, when the system gets involved, it's usually a bad thing. So, but that doesn't mean that it has to be so in London. So okay,
I think that too, yeah. And. I think every time, like in my experience, every time you turn up to a government-led business support initiative, it's like stepping on a landmine. And there's been several times in my past where I have had the worst advice ever from a government-backed agency. And this time, I think we're in the middle of a rapidly unfolding new industry, because we've been around it for like a decade now, but it is a very new thing. And the way it's kind of like in 2015 there was something like 50 people would stand up and say, I'm a co-working space in London, and by the end of 2015 there was like hundreds. And it's I am deeply suspicious of any government intervention in anything ever, but this is the Mayor's Office and Capital Enterprise, who are employed by the Mayor's Office, going out of their way to support. And I think that's been exaggerated, or not exaggerated, but like enhanced by the COVID situation. Mm-hmm. So while there are definitely, tricky bits in it, it is the Mayor of London's office making a huge effort to go, this workspace industry thing is a little bit more than just, some cool people trying to have offices and calling them something different. It's the actual role, as we've been banging on about the 15-minute city and local co-working and the stuff we talk about with Kofi is getting acknowledged.
That's always a good thing, and I always salute people doing good things, even if they got involved in politics early on. So let's say that the system can do some good sometimes. So the Freelancers Week is on in full swing. So what's going on with that? So, or do we have so many events going on, or don't we?
Have the last time I checked, there's about 60 events going on online, and we're sending out a newsletter every day with a roundup of events of like, here's what you should do tomorrow, and they're in different languages as well, which is really important because some people think that even though only 30% of Europe have English as their native language, some people think co-working can only happen in English. So I was really pleased for people to put events on in their native language, and they are ranging from mental health to our own sponsors. Cobot are doing a good event about how co-working and freelancing can work together moving forward, and we'll put a link to that in the show notes. And then I'm not even going to attempt to remember all the events. I can see them flashing. I can see them flashing before my eyes.
So many events. I want to shout out about one. It's the Co-working Co-Living Conference of Southeastern Europe going on Thursday this week, which is the 22nd of October online. And you should, everybody who didn't subscribe or just register should. It's going to be a fun 2.5-3 hours of online discussions and a lot of online guests all around the world, myself included. So
gee, Zeljko, what are you doing at that event?
I don't know. So I tried to convince Misha that I may not need or wasn't needed on this event, but then my ego stepped in, so I didn't. So actually, I'm so thrilled to be going on. I'm actually going to that event in real life to be recorded for you all guys on who are gonna follow us online, and I'm so thrilled to just be going out to an event where 5 people will be coming to talk in real life, but I'm definitely excited. And we're going to talk about freelancers and the what now situation and the new future, and what's the freelance market looking like today or in the next.
What do you think? Because something that happened. I'm going to follow this with a question.
Yeah,
something that happened because we have a big list for the European Freelancers Week, and like with all my emails, something I do a lot is hit reply if you have a question or a comment, and because that's a bigger list, more people email back, and some people have gone, oh, great to see this again, and some people have said like, who are you? And a few people have said things like, I don't know how we're supposed to survive in this situation. It's always been hard as a freelancer. It's the toughest industry in the world, and it's not certainly not easy. Which is doing something on your own. But like, what do you think it is now? Is it like going to be even tougher, or is it going to like erupt into the best time ever?
Well, I don't want to kind of reveal my cards, and I know that some of my colleagues that are on the panel, which I'm in, which are Kofi and Pedro, are I don't know what's Kofi's like position. I know Pedro's, who's been involved heavily in TopTile, which was the leading platform for the top 1% or 5% of highly skilled freelancers. I know that he already stated in one podcast I listened to that the freelance market is in decline, and I don't know how to respond to that, but because I think it's going to be a big discussion on it as far as us 3 are concerned, because I'm not sharing that opinion. I can agree with world numbers, world statistics, and stuff like that. But every person I know who is working as a freelancer is, working nonstop. I can say for myself, who I'm not like, I don't know the true definition of a freelancer, because it may vary. I may not be considered by some people as a regular, like by definition freelancer, because I don't work on freelance platforms and Upwork and stuff like that. I own a small agency, and I'm an entrepreneur, but I'm a one-man show, and I do have people I work with in the sense of some like other freelancers that I cooperate with for the sake of doing my projects. But the business has been going upticking. I mean, I may have had a decline like in March, April, May, but since then it's like on a very, very uptick scale. And additionally, what I'm also just an educated opinion, talking to like big companies and seeing just the market, or hearing my clients, what they say to me is basically that big companies that have had an impact about, going remote or needed to save money because the world crisis has been going on and stuff like that, and you're spending only on what you need, there's little innovation happening. And imagine that you're now in need of a project, and instead of hiring people in-house to do it, like some companies may do, or may have had a policy to develop new teams to build on that project, if it's a short-term project that they are not sure about, or it's a marketing, or it's content, or it's video production, which I'm involved in, so they're more inclined to go out and, do a project with already an established agency that is working by itself, which they will pay by project. And kind of, I'm seeing a boom in the gig economy. So instead of going in-house and kind of like investing, they're saving money and doing gigs. So there's really quite a lot of opportunities for the small entrepreneurs to grab the chance and develop their businesses.
I really agree with that. That's pretty much word for word what I would have said. And I think I'm always a bit aware of like how easy it is to, say, well, it's a great booming period, when you're, someone who owns their own house in London, with a wife and a full-time job. But, it is definitely precarious, and there's a lot of uncertainty around. But I hear of other people, losing. I know a lot of people who have lost their jobs, but I don't know a lot of freelancers that are out of work, and that's a pretty huge distinction.
No, Bernie, but that happened also. So I'm not going to go out and say all the freelancers are booming with business and everything's as usual. No, it isn't. But we are adapting, as we are constantly, not just with COVID, but at any point. So I'm going to go and say, if you're an entrepreneur, you had a COVID situation every year. There are a couple of months, or to maybe more than a couple of months each year, that you have had a problem dealing with. Like there are no clients, there is no business, there is less traction, marketing is not working. What the fuck is happening? And it happens, and being an entrepreneur is like a scale going constantly up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, and if you're not used to it, so you're definitely not cut out to be an entrepreneur or a freelancer or whatever it is. Finding a normal for you, or how to handle yourself when the business is down, and adapting to new situations is kind of the main thing about being a freelancer, entrepreneur, whatever you want to call it, because I'm kind of like, I'm of thought that entrepreneurs are very much like freelancers, even though we can say, yes, we're an agency. Yes, I don't work on Upwork or Elance or, Fiverr or whatever it is, but I do direct marketing to my clients, and each of my clients is, a client for a project that I'm not going to be hired for I don't know, like an employee for the next 5 years, but actually for a 2-month, 3-month, 6-month project. And I do have multiple clients. So, in that sense, I'm just a company instead of a person finding, I don't know, design work or websites every week to develop.
Yeah, that's I agree. Sorry to agree with everything in this podcast, but I agree with that too. Is the
how can we have a discussion if you agree on everything? So
I'm gonna find something really. We'll move on to religion and politics in a minute. In the British Empire. Because I think that's one of the reasons that the people in the freelance world, not everybody, but people in the freelance world are able to deal with this better than people who've just been used to going to a job. Because one thing I read was I get a lot of anxiety, and I've had depression and stuff in the past. So when all this hit, I kind of like the mental tax on people as all the COVID stuff took shape. It's kind of like how I operate anyway. So kind of like the world bended a little bit to the state I'm in most of the time, which I've learned to deal with over time. Yeah. And people who are I'm not trying to romanticize being a freelancer, but where you're always in flux and not knowing, you kind of, I hear people call it like, you have to kill what you eat or something. Eat what you kill,
eat
like
what
you always
kill what you eat. It's like too late for that.
Something like that. There's, you're always on the lookout for something else, because if you don't keep your sales funnel or your customer relationships going, it's not someone's going to send you a paycheck by magic. So, you have to always be looking for stuff. Yeah. And there's something I wanted to add in there is there's a lot of people who, when we're standing in this room talking to people at the beginning, like, I don't know what to do. And then there was all these people like AppSumo did all these videos about, how to cope with what's going on. And, there's a lot of stuff about mental well-being and comparing the situation we're in now to the 2008 economic crisis and what came out of that and all these things that come out of 9/11 and 2008. And now, something's going to come out of this. The constraints put on businesses mean that people have to think even harder. I lost my thread. So this is a time of opportunity. So I was standing in this room and sort of watching a load of those videos in like some turmoil. And a lot of people I was talking to then are now doing something completely different. It's still in their skill set, but they're running online courses, whereas before they were doing, in-person consulting or something like that. So the move to developing your skill, but in a different field, is what I've seen a lot of people do.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I again agree. So I think we need to wrap up because we're on the same page and people have heard
closure.
Us. Yeah, have the closure on this topic. I do have several other things to talk about, but I do believe that we're going to leave them for the next show because they'll take up another 30 minutes. And Bernie...
what a cliffhanger.
Yeah, cliffhanger. So... the situation is developing day per day, so we'll see what happens by next week. So stay tuned. So how's that for people, just relying on us recording the next podcast episode? Bernie, do you have anything to say for the end?
just go to the show notes for this episode and go to Co-working, Co-Living Conference, Southeast Asia on Thursday morning.
Southeast Asia.
Southeast Europe. Jeez. I was talking to Steve Monroe. I've just lost it now. There's like CU Asia, CCSE, the other one. It's
I'm
like
so
a
glad
juicy
we're
fruit.
even now in Asia. Cool. So I need to inform Misha. Okay, cool. Okay, guys, thank you for listening. That was Bernie and me just ranting on about stuff going on in our lives. And see you on every event in the Freelancers Week. Check it out on the websites for European Freelancer Week, as well as the Coworking Co-Living Conference of Southeastern Europe. That's cccse.com. And so check out the coworkingassembly.eu website. Subscribe to our podcast. Subscribe to the newsletter. Well, basically find us anywhere. But don't. I know that you're not going to subscribe to everything, but do at least one thing. And
we need to get less websites, don't we?
Less websites, yeah. More landing pages. Anyway, talk to you next week.
Stay safe.